Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Sir Squeezeback Show here in Irvington, New Jersey. I'm here with a friend of mine from the U.S. Navy. We served together in the Navy, and he's in Virginia now, but his father passed, and the family weren't able to visit his dad in the hospital or the rehab that they sent him to. So I'm here today to talk to Mr. Russell about his feelings about what happened. Greetings, Devon. Thank you for coming on the show.
Greetings.
How you doing?
Doing good.
How long have you been up here from Virginia?
Almost a week.
Okay. And how have things been since you've been up here?
Things have been going fast.
Is there any major difference between how the state is operating in comparison to Virginia?
Well, considering that it's a pandemic and so forth, all states' reaction is different based on their needs right now.
Okay. Now, since you've been up here, what has transpired in terms of your dad?
Well, I was told like a month ago that he was taken to the hospital. They ran a test there, and after 2 days, he was sent back to the house saying everything was good. After maybe about two and a half weeks after he left the hospital, he come home. Everything was good for a couple of days until a week later he stopped eating regularly. So my mom got concerned. She watched him for about a couple of days, figuring maybe he wasn't hungry and anything like that. So after he's still not eating, she called and they came and got him on an ambulance, took him back to the hospital, ran more tests, and they found out that he was tested positive for COVID.
Mm-hmm. Did she get it too?
Yeah, she got it too.
Did she? But she got rid. She was cured of it.
Well, she's always drinking a lot of herbs and stuff like that, So she said when her taste was disappeared for like a day, but it came back.
Mm-hmm.
After my dad was tested positive, she called the hospital and they arranged for her to come down and do a test.
Mm-hmm.
She went down, did a test, and her test was positive.
Mm-hmm.
So she had to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing about that is, after a person is quarantined for 2 weeks, there should be some kind of follow-up, right? Because you leave people in limbo, not knowing what to do. You can't test somebody and then after not follow up, and say whether they after their quarantine period, what is it that they could do afterwards. Everybody's just in limbo. If you test somebody, you should already figure, well, if they quarantine for 2 weeks, you told them to stay home and quarantine for 2 weeks, you should contact the patient, after her 2 weeks is up and say, hey, come back in and do a retest, whatever. But nobody calls, so she has to take the initiative to call and get in the system and wait. So that's what she's doing. But lucky thing, I had my cousin here, and she called on her behalf and got her schedule for a follow-up test next week.
Okay.
Just to make sure, give her a peace of mind, because all people want is a peace of mind to know that after you quarantine, so you could move on and do other things, because everything is being impacted by just that one test.
Let me ask you this: when your dad died, where was he when he died?
Well, so after he left the hospital, they sent him to a rehab facility for 90 days. Out of that 90 days, he was there for maybe 7-8 days. We called almost every other day, and we were told that he was good. Everything was okay. He wasn't eating the food because maybe he just care for it, you know, because when you get institutional food, you know, there's no taste or not something that he's used to. So anyway, they call back after about 8 days there, and they said, wait a minute, you know, he's not doing well. They had to take him back to the hospital to get because his oxygen fell below a certain level, I believe. So on the way to the hospital, he didn't make it all the way. He passed away in the ambulance, I believe, going to the hospital.
Do you think that it's possible that he was heartbroken?
Well, one of the biggest problems with this isolation is that after you go to the hospital and you get moved to whether it's a nursing home or a rehab facility, there's no visitation. So, of course, if you don't see a family member after 10, 15 days, you start getting worried yourself, because he's at the point where he had on dementia, slight case of dementia coming on, because he's 89. So if he knew that his family was around, or he could visibly see them and stuff like that, it makes a big difference.
What do you think they could have done differently?
Well, you know, being that we have all this technology and everything like that, I believe that when you send somebody to a facility and there's no way that the family can communicate, there should be some kind of a video system, which I'm pretty sure is simple stuff to set up, where family member could call in and he could visibly see his family
on the video monitor.
On a video monitor.
So
simple stuff like that.
Something like a video monitor that you roll into the room.
Yes. And so you put a patient on there and say, hey, you know, this is your family member is checking in on you, and you could visibly see them on the monitor that everybody is there. It'll give you a little bit more peace of mind, saying that, you know, hey, I see my family. Maybe I can't talk to them directly, but they see me and I see them. You know, visibility is very important, and especially when you're at that age, you want to know that the people who care about you is thinking about you, and because you're thinking about them.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean.
But, you know, Devon, I want to tell you that I feel your pain, and I understand 100% when you talk about the family members not being able to visit, and not the client or the patient feeling that they have been abandoned.
Yes.
And that could be as dangerous as any illness that's coming on, especially when you're up there in age.
Spirit, man.
That's right. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Devon. You know, when the situation started out and his father got sick, his mom was also affected. However, they tested her, but there was no follow-up on the test after the 2-week quarantine. And hadn't it been for a family member that was here that spoke up and reached out and was able to get her scheduled for another follow-up. Now, another thing that I think we should highlight is what Devon said about the family member not having visitors. There's a solution. This is the technological situation that we're dealing with now. That's the era. Technology is all over the place.
We're going to the moon.
That's right. And we just set up spaceships all over the place, right? So, very simple for the future. If maybe those who are in position to make these decisions, simple. Video monitor to the room.
Yep.
Even if you could use the system where the phones are used video conferencing from any location that the family member is, and it's patched in to that video monitor that's rolled into the room, so the patient could actually see that they're not alone, and
right, exactly.
Those familiar faces are there. I also understand that they set up a system where they were telling them in the emergency room that just in case you don't make it, what do you want us to do? Now, this is not coming from the family member. This is coming from the doctors. So when you say something like that, it's somewhat, I guess I would say that it shows that the family member is no longer in the picture.
Right, he's just been
out. That's right. So Devon, I would just want to say that I thank you for talking with us today. And if there is any shout out you want to say, shout out to anybody out there, this is your opportunity.
I just want to shout out to America to let them know that people need to be more active in trying to get these nursing homes and stuff like that to be more focused on the family instead of the immediate emergency. Because even the immediate emergency, there's family is still important.
That's right.
You know, and if you have a patient who can see their family, that will help them, give them hope to get better instead of just falling ill and giving up. And then what? You have another body, you know, a body and another body and another body instead of life. So I would say that's the people in power choose life.
Thank you.
You know?
Thank you.
Because without life, we don't have nothing. You can't go shopping without dead people. Don't go shopping.
So the economy not going to go back?
The economy ain't going to go nowhere. So they could open up all they want. If people don't feel confident that the government have their back and care about their people instead of money, then, you know, the economy will come roaring back like they hope to. But if people don't have any confidence in the system, they're not going to do nothing. They're going to stay home or they're going to avoid going out. Period.
Thank you, sir.
It's just common sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you. Celebrating the life of Lloyd George Russell, October 26th, 1930 to May 22nd, 2020. Arbitrary. Lloyd George Russell. Lloyd Russell was born on October 26, 1930, to Ina and Sylvester Russell in St. Anne's Bay, in the parish of St. Anne, Jamaica, West Indies. He was one of 6 children born to Ina and Sylvester, 2 girls, Leela, aka Birdie, and Monica, aka Doll, and 4 boys, Sydney, also known as Babu, Lloyd, also known as Puggy, Leonard, also known as Freddie, and Owen, aka Bill. He attended St. Anne's Primary School, where he was known as a very good student. He was born into the Anglican Church and served on the altar with 2 of his brothers as altar boys, also known as acolytes. These brothers were well known in their community as they were also accomplished cricketers. Their grandmother's life was full of keeping these young active boys, men, with sparkling white uniforms for their activities every week. It is safe to say that when they stepped out on Saturdays for cricket matches and Sundays for church, they were the talk of the town. Those Russell boys. For his profession, Lloyd followed his father and became a very successful barber. He changed profession when he migrated to the United States. Lloyd met his wife Olive when she relocated from the parish of St. Elizabeth to St. Anne's Bay for employment, and they have been together ever since, through Olive's migration to the United States and her return to marry and expatriate Lloyd to America. They have 2 sons, Devon, aka Tony, and Carl, aka Junior, and 2 grandsons, Raheem Russell and Damar Russell, and 2 great-grandchildren, Marley Russell and Dion Russell. Olive and Lloyd made a successful life in America and built their dream home in Jamaica, where they visited several times a year. Lloyd is from a family that emphasized education, and that pressure was placed on the nieces and nephews. The result is that their professions range from a dentist, nurse, bank executives, corporate administrator, teacher, computer technician, etc., etc., etc. Both his sons served in the United States Navy. The emphasis on education is more evident in the next generation, as there is a lawyer, several doctors, nurses, architect, marketers, etc., etc., etc. We know that Lloyd has a lot to fill in when he sees his parents and siblings, especially his father. Lloyd might be a Russell, but he was also a McNabb through and through. I am sure he had a watchful eye on those sisters, as there are many, being the husband of the older sister, but we also know he was fun, ready with a quick laugh, and he liked to brag on all of us. We on the Russell side will miss our Uncle Puggy, and the McNabbs will miss their Lloyd, but he can rest assured that we will take care of Aunt Olive. He is survived by his wife, his 2 sons, his 2 grandsons, great-grandchildren, his brother Owen, and nieces and nephews, grandnieces and grandnephews, and many in-laws in Canada, the United States, and Jamaica. Manasseh, Asoigo.